there.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
What's going on today?
It's Friday, so a lot of people are thinking that the weekend is coming.
Absolutely. There's a rumor going around on the streets.
Exactly, except for the people who have to work on the weekends. That's not a good time for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not. Man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show today.
You bet. I look forward to it.
So, where are you located?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Are you an Astros fan?
I was until they didn't make it anymore. But yeah, now it's the Rangers, right? So it's two Texas teams. It was a pretty tough playoff.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, and I guess Dusty's retiring.
Yeah, he came back out of retirement. Did a lot of great stuff and put Houston Astros on the map. And now somebody else needs to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way sports is. Um, well, man, it's great to me. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, by the way.
Oh,
So,
wonderful! So you
yeah.
you must be a big Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I grew up going to training camps, so I've no
Wow,
bandwagon here. I've been there from the beginning. Used to hang out with the
terrific.
players, play basketball before it was a big spectacle, and it was cool, you know.
Terrific. So you must be all about the whole Taylor Swift drama.
Oh man, God. I tell you what, the only thing that I'm looking forward to is one of my favorite burgers is White Castle, and what I'd love to see happen because Patrick Mahomes said something about Whataburger, which is down in Texas, and they
Right.
brought him up here. They like the franchise came here because he said something. So I want Taylor Swift or Travis Kelsey to eat a White Castle or say something, and let's bring that in too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What an amazing thing.
It's wild, man. Yeah, it's getting to be overkill, but I mean, as far as like stadiums filling up, and I have a stepdaughter that finally has taken more interest. I mean, it really is kind of sparking a different side that never really followed football, you know.
Exactly. Everybody's following Taylor Swift. So that's a great Passover. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. We have gone from being a reigning Super Bowl champion to being a Hollywood story.
A
So
romantic holiday story.
that's
Hollywood.
right, a
Yeah.
rom-com. That's
There we
right.
go.
So, well, man, it's great to meet you. I'm really excited about your background and getting in and peeling back the layers. And I want to begin with what we lived through for the last 3.5 years with the pandemic. How did you get through it, and how has it changed you?
As it relates to leadership or sales, Joe, where would you like me to take that?
I would say probably the Venn diagram. Since you're in control of it, it would have to kind of all bleed together, I think.
Wow. Everything went upside down during the pandemic as it relates to the value and the purpose of a sales professional. We were no longer allowed to see people anymore.
Yeah.
And through that came something that used to be conference calls to Zoom calls, which what we're doing right now, face to face, putting flesh on a screen. And it changed the way we needed to lead people. It's changed the way we need to articulate our sales value proposition. And I don't think we're ever going to go back to where we were because the technology in the hands of the users or the buyers, if you will, allowed us to put up walls so that salespeople had even thicker walls to penetrate through to get to people. And so now we're just scratching our head going, now that we're just getting out of the pandemic and we're starting to build relationships again, here comes this little sucker coming out of left field called artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
Chat GBT. And now we're using all of that to further make it more difficult for one side of the equation, maybe easier for the other side of the equation. And it's just coming at us at Mach 5. I think
Yeah.
where we see things today, it will double and triple in technology in the next 3 to 5 years.
I agree. I agree. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's
Yeah,
career day. And
yeah,
one of them looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do
yeah.
you answer that child?
Well, I do a lot of things as it relates to selling. So I bring people together to solve problems. And that's what I do on a third grade level is we're trying to talk to people to find out if they have a problem that we can solve. If we're really good at what we do, we can identify the problem. If we're really bad, we're going to waste their time and not solve their problem.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
I wanted to be an oceanographer because I love the ocean, and I thought
Okay.
that was going to be my dream job until I got older and moved into computer programming, and then from there I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and from there my career is just kind of pinballed into all sorts of different directions.
So let's go back to the beginnings of where you were born and raised and these seeds that ultimately have become this prowess you have in sales and helping people get to where they want to be.
So it all started when my parents, who come from a very work ethic, a German work ethic, if you wanted anything more than what my parents could give me, I had to go get it myself. So I found myself taking toys and walking up and down the street, knocking on doors, trying to sell my used toys to other families. So I think I had the heart and soul of a salesperson back in the third grade. As I continued to advance, I realized I needed a paper route. And from a paper route, I did worked at a grocery store. From there, I was a mechanic for Volkswagens to turn those around to college students. Everything I did had a sales motif around it because, I kind of pulled myself up from my own bootstraps to get to where I was. And I absolutely fell in love with the idea that people can sell things as long as it's morally and ethically right.
Yeah.
And from there, I started moving into that whole teacher coach, selling teacher coach, sales manager, teacher coach, sales manager, teacher coach, speaker. And the next thing you know, I'm teaching sales at the University of Houston. I'm publishing books. I'm traveling the country. It's been a rich, rich career.
Sounds like it. So, who's been a hero for you? Who's been fuel, inspiration for you to be who you are?
A lot of the people would have been like someone like a Jim Rohn, who was a business philosopher way back in the day, maybe some Zig Ziglar, Tony Alessandra. I had a partner when I went into full-time speaking, Jim Jacobus, here in Houston, Texas, and he became my mentor and basically poured everything that he knew into me. And then I would turned around and paid it forward and started mentoring other people in this career of sales.
So, if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that's an inspiration to you or that you just have admired, who would it be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Yeah, I would love to meet and talk to Tony Alessandra. He does a lot of work in the behavioral psychologies using the disc profile. And he has touched the same people I've touched. He's kind of friends with Brian Tracy. I tried to sell to Brian Tracy. And I think that would be a wealth of just conversation as he tells me stories of how he got through all of what he did.
So, the idea that the backbone of what you do is that you're inspired. What gets you up every day? What gets you to be who you are and to help people get to where they want to go?
It all comes from a book I wrote called Five Stones for Slaying Giants. And what gets me up in the morning, it comes from the old David and Goliath story. And if you read into the story, you've got David, you've got Goliath, but Goliath had four brothers and they were two in the battle. And so David was smart enough to go to the stream and pick up not just one stone for the story, but five stones, because he thought, man, I'm sure his brother's going to come after me. So
Yeah.
my five stones that gets me excited are passion, excellence, vision, value, and confidence. And I share that with the people that I come across as you've got to be passionate. I mean, Joe, you are absolutely passionate for what you do on podcasts, but there's an excellence in you where your questions are hard hitting and they're thought provoking. So those two things work in combination. The vision for where you want to go, the value that you want to add, and then that's all wrapped up in those first four stones to get you to that confidence so that when you're having a bad day, having a bad week, having a bad quarter, you can get through it because of the first four stones.
Yeah. That's well put. Yeah, that's wonderful. So, of all the people that you've helped, what's your best success story? What's the one that always puts a smile on your face?
Well, it's an interesting story. There was a young man, his name is Ruben Gonzalez. He's a four-time Olympian
Yeah.
in the luge coming out of Katy, Texas. We have no snow. We don't even have a hill. But Ruben came to me as an Olympian that wanted a mentor in the speaking world. And Ruben and I met on several occasions, and I poured into him what other people had poured into me. Ruben took that and became a highly successful, not only public speaker, but a writer and an author. And what really impressed me was he came with an open mind and a notebook, and he took notes and he executed on all those things because he came from a world of athletic perfection. And he
Yeah.
knew that his coach could teach him to be a loser for the Olympics. And I could teach him a little bit of what I know to be a professional speaker, sales professional, and author. And he has far eclipsed anything I'd ever wanted to ascribe to. And it's been exciting to watch his career.
So, you've had the fortunate position dispense really good advice to people. What's the best piece of advice that you've received in your life?
I think the best piece of advice, as you frame it within a sales idea, is that the fortune is in the follow-up. And I think that's the same with relationships, with anything that we do. It's the follow-up, it's the commitment to circle back and to connect with that person. So my best advice that was given to me is it's that follow-up. And I've used it in many, many different forms in order to be successful.
So the tapestry of the American story, the backbone of us, a lot of it has to do with business success stories. What's been one of your favorite ones? A company that rose like a phoenix or just really did things in the right way that you admire?
From the early stages of Howard Schultz working with Starbucks, reading his book on how he took an idea and a concept and went back to Europe and found out about the lattes and the cappuccinos and brought the machines over to America, and then just tried so many different ways in order to replicate that model. And it's phenomenal what he did. Is it the best cup of coffee you've had all day? Perhaps, but it's on every street corner where
Yeah.
other franchises and other mass marketing didn't possibly relate to that or even compete with him. So I think his success story is absolutely fascinating as a business model.
So you seem like you're very curious about things. I'm curious if you could go back in time and see any event that happened in human history, where would you love to go? What would you love to have seen with your own eyes?
You know, uh, it could be, well, I would be a little bit macabre to talk about going back to the crucifixion. I don't want to go back to that. That would be too sobering.
Yeah.
I like some of the epic things that happen in history as it relates to, the signing of the end of World War II.
Yeah.
That that was an epic information. Or being in the audience, watching them chisel out the Declaration of Independence
Yeah.
in that hot, humid room. And if we've ever been to Philadelphia and sat in that touristy area, you try to replicate what was it like for those people to come in there to sign a document that signed their death sentence, but they were so passionate about creating the United States of America and that Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. Well put. So if you have a dream tonight, you run into the 20-year-old version of you, and you could give that younger version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life, the things that you've accomplished and overcome. What advice would you dispense on that younger version of you?
Oh gosh, stop trying to please everyone.
Yep.
And it's been 4 decades since I was 20, and I still am working on that, right? I talk to a lot of people who've eclipsed a certain age, maybe it's 52, maybe it's 57, and they tell me their BS meter is broken. So they're no longer trying to please the world. And I'm like, well, I still have a full tank of gas in my BS meter, and I'm still trying to please people. So please, if you hear this, stop.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I had a friend that used to always say he was fluent in two languages, English and BS. So
Wow.
there you go.
Well, I think it goes back to, your address you grew up at, and some of the things that the work I've done in behavioral styles. I definitely have a style that's very much reward and recognition. And, I'm kind of like that Labrador with my tail wagging. So you just want to please everybody. But from a career standpoint, that's just not the best way to go about things.
Yeah. The one thing I've noticed with a lot of interviews that I've had is that you would figure living through a pandemic, there would be, catastrophic economic things that would be happening overall. But it seems almost as though there's an uptick, there's a confidence, there's an attitude that's being exuded. Are you noticing that things have gotten better rather than prior before?
I, I think I don't want to say to the non-American, Eastern or other cultures that this American spirit of this can-do-ness just absolutely comes back. It's resilient to an amazing point. And I think that's why so many people are trying to flock here, because there is just something about what we have that can say we've suffered a catastrophic event for 3.5 years and we've come back stronger,
Yeah.
and we've reinvented ourselves, and we've learned new things, and we've adapted, and we've overcome. And I think, traveling, last year I was in Europe, and I saw all of these storefronts. Well, they were good until the pandemic, and they're out. And I'm just saying that we're not out.
Yeah.
We're coming back, and it's beyond Democrat or Republican. It goes about current president or past president. It's the resiliency of the American spirit, I think, that just continues to be that shining light on the hill, if you will.
Yeah,
And I
well
know I've
said.
dumped a ton of cliches at you right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, that's well said. Let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you. There's different lights that are cast on you. Family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
You know, someone said, Kurt, you're America's, master sales motivator. I think I'm a cheerleader. I'm that eternal optimist. And so I always see the good in people and I always trust. And so when people come alongside me, they try to get some of that, and maybe I can pay that forward as well and just continue to be that encouragement to people.
So if anyone out there wants to reach out to you, hire you, learn more about you, where is the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I've got a simple website. It's called peaksalesstrategy.com, peaksalesstrategy.com. It's got my information on there. People can get there. They can get there through my LinkedIn. I'm Curt Tueffert. There's only one Curt Tueffert out there. And I love, love, love responding to people's questions. And, I love to give back. So if there's anything I can do, Joe, to give back, that's what I would love to do.
Kurt, thank you for your energy. Thank you for your passion. I appreciate your story today.
You bet. Thanks for your questions.
Best of luck.